7:00, we'll call the Rusk County Board of Supervisors meeting. Call to order, roll call. Present, we have a quorum. Invocation by Phil Undershoots, Pledge of Allegiance by Brian Coggins. Please rise.
We thank you for your many blessings, and we pray for your continued blessings. We pray for your wisdom tonight that we would do the right thing. Pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes corrected by May 21st, 2024, June 20th, 2024, June 25th, 2024, and July 1st, 2024. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Tom Kudo, second by Mr. Zimmer. Any questions, changes? We vote now. Motion for 18 yes, minutes are passed. Public comment, limit to 3 minutes per person with a maximum public comment of 30 minutes on agenda items only. Public comment? Yes.
Well, just pass that down. Pass that down. My name is Gary Schultz. Hello, everybody. Amen. I was the county facilities manager. I am not sure if I still am. On July 2nd, I was advised that following the July 1st evidentiary hearing, you voted not to remove me from my position as facilities manager. The vote was two votes short. I was also advised that you imposed other lesser disciplines, a 2-week suspension, required attendance at a employee assistance program, an EAP assessment, and a willingness to sign a yet to be drafted last chance agreement, LCA. I was in agreement with all three until I saw the LCA, which called for me waiving what is on your agenda for later this evening, a second vote by the county board on whether I should be removed. I refused to sign the LCA because the LCA delegated to a 3-person subcommittee the ability to terminate my employment if HR Manager Goodis, who on July 1 publicly demanded my termination, determined my conduct to be disrespectful, she would initiate a meeting not of the county board, but of a 3-person disciplinary subcommittee. Ms. Goodis is one of the 3 people on the subcommittee who would, under the LCA, decide whether, in fact, I would be terminated. In addition, the LCA provided that if I filed a post-termination grievance under the county's procedure, the role of the impartial hearing officer, IHO, would be limited. I am providing a copy of the letters sent to the county setting out my concerns about the LCA and suggesting an alternative LCA. As you may know, last Friday I filed a petition for writ of mandamus in the Rusk County Circuit Court, seeking reinstatement and objecting to the county board acting in closed session to create this disciplinary committee. You have all your copies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mr. Bruce. This county is suffering from a great sickness, and it seems to be getting worse every day. My first comment is about the out-of-county housing of inmates. The decision by the sheriff to house inmates out of county seems like it's a manipulation to prove a cost to the taxpayers that we won't be happy to see. And yet we aren't required to not double bump yet. Could we meet our classifications without shipping out of county at all? I've heard that the people we have been sending, we don't get reimbursement for, but we have people that could be sent to get reimbursed for. This seems like it's inappropriate for a boss of a department to create invoices that would make us look like we should be scared to say yes to a jail instead of being fiscally responsible with our tax dollars. Regarding the closed session on the agenda for tonight, on July 1st, this body failed to receive a 2/3 vote to terminate facilities manager Gary Schultz. While in closed session, this body illegally created a subcommittee. This cannot be done in closed session. The subcommittee then met on July 11th, and after hearing voted to terminate Gary Schultz in closed session. A county employee sat on that subcommittee and voted to terminate an appointed employee. Our facilities manager has more protections than non-appointed employees, such as my husband, Kurt, and his termination. An employee cannot sit on a committee and terminate through a committee. Our current policy is not written to allow this. Now here we are tonight, and someone is asking this body to ratify a mistake or a purposeful act in terminating an employee. So now this body is in the business of illegally allowing a subcommittee to be formed and to terminate appointed employees, and you're set to vote in favor of this decision? You all need to think long and hard about this vote. This is a terrible look for Rusk County and each one of you personally. This position is about being ethical. Your job is about being ethical. Gary was brought to you before you in a termination hearing because of the grievances you supposedly had with him. I say you had the best facility managers in Gary Schultz that you had in a very long time. It's not hard for many of us to remember the last guy was stealing handsomely from us. You need to vote no to ratify the decision made by the subcommittee. That committee, as it was created illegally and doesn't have the right to do more than recommend that Gary be terminated, and this body can't because that subcommittee was illegally formed. Taxpayers pay you to sit here and do the jobs you do, and I expect each and every one of you to think long and hard about it.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Public comment? Public comment? No other public comment? Public comment is closed. Presentation, Rusk County Fair.
Alright, good evening everyone. Thank you for allowing me to come in tonight and give you a little update about the fair. For those of you that don't know me, I am Brittany Wiles, the Rusk County Fair Coordinator. I started out showing at the fair from a very young age, went into the fair coordinator intern position, and now am the fair coordinator. So just a little update about the fair this year. It is taking place August 8th through the 11th of this year. Here's a list of our fair board members and staff currently this year. All of them doing such a good job and volunteering so many hours to make our fair go around every year. The 2024 fair statistics, I just ran some reports yesterday to get you guys some numbers, and I want to emphasize this year. Our junior fair exhibitors, we are up to 202 this year. Last year we were at 156 for junior fair, and then open class this year we're at 118, and last year we were at 94. That equals a total of 320 exhibitors with 2,278 total entries. This is a huge jump from previous years, and we're super excited about this. The barn should be extremely full this year, and I really hope that each of you get the opportunity to come down and check it out. Here's a list of our events. I apologize, it's a little bit small on the screens. 2 events to highlight this year that are new. Grandpa Cratchit is going to be coming, as well as an open 40 barrel race that will be new this year, along with all of the other events that take place each year, some new and some old, so we're excited to have all these things. This slide I'd like to highlight. These are some 2024 improvements and projects that the fair board and budget has completed this year so far. In the upper left and middle, you can see the round barn and the wings. They all have fresh new coats of paint on them. The upper right hand side is our new wing addition. On the lower right side, we have all new panels in the sheep barns this year. Next to that, we have a new stage currently being built up in front of the fairgrounds, so super exciting and people putting in lots of hours to make that possible. Next to the stage, we have installed 8 new barn fans for circulation and comfort for users of the multi-purpose barn just in general, but also for the exhibitors and the livestock that will be in there during Fair Week. And lastly, on the lower left-hand corner is our new sound system that has been put into the multi-purpose building as well. Our volunteer lists, again this year, our fair would not be possible without our amazing volunteers and people that put in countless hours to make our fair happen every single year. So we would just like to thank everyone that does take the time to volunteer and work at our fair. It wouldn't be possible without each of you. And then if you would like to reach out to me, you can email me, call, check out our website, or our Facebook page for lots more information or for any questions. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Recruitment and retention in the sheriff's office.
Okay, I'm not gonna use this, hope you don't care.
No. Dan, can you sign in? Is this computer working? Is this tablet working?
Says present time.
Oh, it's not showing here, but. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is. Okay, go ahead, sorry about that.
Good?
Yep.
Alright, thank you for having me. I did this presentation on June 6th, I think, to personnel. Was the last one was at personnel. I was at personnel once, did the presentation, they requested some more information, so I got the information for them, presented it again, and they suggested I come to the full board with this recruitment and retention presentation. So, the very first slide on there obviously says recruitment and retention, and I fully believe in the saying underneath it. And if you've owned a business before, I don't know if you can disagree with that. You don't build the people, you build the people, you don't build the business. And the people will build your business for you. That's what we're doing here. You guys are the bosses of all the departments in this county. I'm gonna read to you a couple testimonials. What I did is, over the last couple months, I reached out to several people that have left our department, the sheriff's department, and I asked them to write me up a paragraph or 2 or 3 of why they made their decision to leave. The very first one that I'm gonna read is actually a person that came to our department. He's currently a law enforcement officer. He came to our department because he wanted to work for Rusk County. He's wanted to work for Rusk County for a couple of years. He started the hiring process, and shortly into the hiring process, he pulled out of the hiring process. And this is what he had to say. The reason for turning down the job offer was completely based on the financial impact that accepting the position would have had on my family and I. I was fully prepared to take a pay cut in exchange for higher personal job satisfaction. Once offered the position, however, I began to look at the whole picture, which included not only the pay cut, but an unexpected substantial increase in out-of-pocket medical expenses due to the offered health insurance plan. Although I was willing to take a pay cut, once combined with the out-of-pocket medical expenses, it became clear that it could not be a responsible decision to join the Rusk County Sheriff's Office. This person was born and raised in Rusk County, graduated high school from here. In the last 6 years alone, he's made over 200 drug cases just off of traffic stops. He's a drug recognition expert, which is a long course to become a DRE. He's a field sobriety instructor in the academy. He's a tactical response instructor in the academy. He's an A-Ride instructor in the academy. He's a tactical emergency care instructor in the academy, and a certified EMT. The second person. While I value the relationships I've built and appreciated the positive work environment, I must candidly express my main reasons for leaving. Unfortunately, the compensation and benefits provided by Rusk County did not align with my expectations. As you know, financial stability and job satisfaction are crucial factors in any professional journey. This person who left us after, I think, 17 years was commander of our ERT team, drafted, briefed, and executed hundreds of search warrants. He's trained and certified in officer-involved critical incidents, human trafficking, death investigations, certified homicide investigator, first-line law enforcement supervisor, sexual assault investigations, stalking, strangulation, and domestic violence investigations, head, face, and neck findings in child abuse, infant and child abuse and death investigations, SWAT ops in rural terrain, cellular device investigations, rural sex trafficking, fire pattern certification, and a certified arson investigator. Third person. Over the years here, I have worked with the finest group of men and women between the patrol division, investigations, and jail staff. I have the most respect for these folks and will always consider them an extension of my family. I took this opportunity for my family as the pay increase and health insurance benefits were too good not to pursue. This department has lost numerous employees over the same issues, including health insurance and wages. When I began working for Rusk County, I believed I would retire from here at some point. Clearly that will not be the case now. That person too was born and raised in Rusk County, graduated from high school from here. He was a canine handler for 5 years. He was a member of our SWAT team, made hundreds of felony arrests and cases, and is responsible for taking dozens of pounds of meth off the streets of Rusk County. The fourth person. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Rusk County, and while there, I had some of the greatest coworkers I've ever had the pleasure of working with. One of my main reasons for leaving Rusk County and going to Barron County was the pay and benefits package, both of which are significant upgrades to those offered in Rusk County. Although he was only with us for 3 years, that employee literally was one of the people that if he didn't know you, he would still run into a burning building for you. So, what we did is I contacted the two other large departments in Rusk County. That being HHS, which is a large department, and Highway, which is a large department. And I asked their department heads how many people they have lost, respectively, in the last 5 years. HHS lost 11 people. That's a lot in 5 years. I don't think you can argue that that wouldn't be a hardship on a department, to lose 11 people in 5 years. We've lost 24. The Sheriff's Department's lost 24 employees in the last 5 years. Highway's lost 5. Here's a real brief look at our hiring process or onboarding process, which is extremely extensive. It takes a long time to hire somebody for our department. Just like other departments, we post the opening on NeoGov and YNet. Those are the two places we post it. We receive applications, and as a team, we review those applications. Then we coordinate and conduct interviews, just like every other department does. We give a conditional offer, and then we give them the background packet. And this is where we start to differ from every other department in this county. Sometimes it takes 3 days, sometimes it takes a week for that person to fill out that real thick background packet for us. When we receive that background packet back, then I do a thorough background investigation. After the background's completed, then they're required to come back in and I administer a psychological exam to them. We send that exam out to a doctor in Chicago. That takes about a week to get results back on that. Then we schedule a drug screen and a medical appointment. It takes about a week to get tests back on that. Once all those tests and screening processes are passed, then we can sit down with that person, take measurements and sizes, order uniforms and all their equipment. Then we give a final offer of employment and their official oath of office. Once that's done, then I have to go and complete a whole bunch of paperwork for them for the state. It's called the DJLE 303 form. I have to submit that, it has to be approved. Once that's approved, then I have to go into our schedule and figure out the schedule for the next year for that person. I have to figure out who's gonna be their FTO for phase 1, who's gonna be their FTO for phase 2, who's their FTO for phase 3, who's their FTO for phase 4. If one of those FTOs is on vacation 1 or 2 of those days, I have to make adjustments to get them with a different FTO. I have to make sure that different FTO has all the other FTO information so they can be on the same page and in line with where that person is in training. Then that person begins their 12-week FTO program. And they are not allowed to work on their own, on the road, until they've successfully signed off on their FTO program. That whole process takes months. What we looked at now was the cost. The cost for this county to hire a patrol deputy. And on the left up here, this doesn't work. On the very left, you can see Jay Wallace and about how many hours he has into the hiring process. Then you see my name and about how many hours I have into the hiring process for patrol. Then you have Sergeant. They're the FTO. You see how many hours they have into that process. And then Miranda Crone, about how many hours she has in, and Bamer, about how many hours she has in. And you go all the way across, and there's our hourly rate. So you take about how much time we put into them, and our hourly rate. Then below that second red line, it says new hire on the far left. And you see the number of 576. That's how many hours they are in FTO. Below that, you see academy. That's how many hours they're in the academy for 720 hours. And we pay them while they're in the academy. They also get paid while they're in FTO. Below that, bottom left corner, is equipment and uniforms for every new hire, is about $2,500. The pre-employment medical is about $250, and the psych test I administer about $300. When you add all of that stuff up, from the time that we ship out the job posting on NeoGov or YNet until the time they are able to hit the road by themselves on their own, it's about $80,000 to hire one patrol deputy. We did the same thing for the jail. How much does it cost to hire one jailer dispatcher? Same exact thing, the people that have time into it, how many hours we have into it. Jail school is only 200 hours, patrol academy is 720. In the end, it costs about $60,000 to hire one jail dispatcher. So let's look at the last 5 years. Over the last 5 years, we have had to hire and replace 18 different jail dispatch deputies. If you take how much it costs to hire one of them, times that by 18, you get $1 million. We've lost 6 patrol deputies in the last 5 years. If it costs about $80,000 to hire one of them, you take 80,000 times it by 6, and that's $474,000. So in the last 5 years, our county has spent $1.5 million just on trying to hire people. What you don't see up here, so the last time I did this presentation, I think it was June 6th. What you don't see up here is the 4 people we've lost since June 6th. We've lost 4 employees. They are not factored into this. When I did this last for the personnel, we asked them if they wanted us to update it as it went on, and they advised us to keep it the same. But in the last 7 to 8 weeks, we've lost 4 more employees. We are one of the few departments in the county that are required by state statute, and there's the statute, to get a certain amount of hours of training every single year. And if we don't, we lose our certification. There's certain trainings we have to do every year, there's certain trainings we have to do every other year, and every single year we have to, every single member of our department has to get at least 24 hours of training. Our average training budget is $17,000. And you can see how much we've spent in the last 5 years. So just in the last 5 years, we've spent $88,000 just for patrol on training. On the right side is the jail. There's their average training budget. They've spent about $37,000 just in training their current employees. One patrol deputy used up $15,000 in training. We just picked one. And it was $15,000 in training just for that employee over the last 5 years. Because specialized training is very expensive. Our investigators, we want our investigators to be able to handle a homicide by themselves. We don't want to have to reach out to state agencies to say, hey, we're incapable, can you guys come do this for us? Because there's several counties out there that have to do that. We don't want to do that. So we will always continue to keep investing in our people, hoping that they stay. Here's overtime costs. The graph on the left is from 2020 to 2023. You can see how it's gone up dramatically. On the right is our 2024 overtime budget. So far in 2024, patrol has already used 84% of that budget. The jail has already used 64% of their budget. Both of those numbers were as of May 15th. Overtime shifts. We can't not fill shifts. When somebody from DHS calls in sick, they don't have to bring someone in to fill that shift. When someone from highway calls in sick, they don't have to fill that shift with overtime. We have to fill our shifts with overtime because we can't allow our deputies to work by themselves. In 2020, I posted 56 overtime shifts for patrol to sign for an average of 4 per month. In 21, it was 67 overtime shifts that I had to post. 22 was 71 overtime shifts, and 2023 was 223 overtime shifts that I had to post. That people either signed for, and if they didn't, they got ordered to work those shifts. So far through June of 24, patrol there's been 115 overtime postings. On the right side is the jail. 2020, 196. 22, 188. 23, 256, and so far in 24, they have 140. They will more than likely break 300 overtime shifts this year. Below that, I took a patrol deputy who left our department for our agency right next door. That patrol deputy was making $29.31 an hour here when he left. Patrol deputies work 192 hours per month. Gross of $56.27. That's not with benefits. That's just straight pay. No bennies. You take that $5,600 and times it by 12, gives you his $67,530 per year gross salary. Because that deputy left us, we have to fill his shift with overtime. So I took a sergeant making $30.81 an hour. At overtime is $8,800. Take that $800 times 12, you get $106,000. It cost our county almost $39,000 more dollars to have that person leave. We probably could have given that deputy an $8 an hour raise and still would have saved money. I have that as my last slide too, because I think it's important. We spent $1.5 million trying to hire people, but we haven't done a whole heck of a lot to try to keep them. When you lose a tenured employee in law enforcement, you lose tens of thousands of dollars in training that we have invested in them. They take all of that knowledge and experience and time invested in them to a different county or a different agency, and they are tickled pink that Rusk County trained that person so well for them. They don't pump any money to that person because all the money's been pumped into them already. Who do we replace that person with? And I'm not talking down to the people that we just hired, because we have hired some super good people, but we hire people that either are fresh out of the academy, that have zero experience, zero knowledge about this career, or we hire people that we have to put through the academy that have zero knowledge and zero experience. We are not hiring tenured law enforcement employees from different agencies. We haven't been in the position to be able to hire somebody from Chippewa County who has 10 years of service, to be able to hire somebody from Sawyer County that has 12 years of service. We're not able to do that. It'd be great if we were able to do that, but we have not been able to. If you own a business, some of you do and some of you have, and you checked your books, and you went back 5 years, and you noticed that at your business, you spent $1.5 million in the last 5 years hiring people, would you change your business practice? I'm sure you would consider it. Okay? Why I'm here is we have a problem. I don't think you can deny that. We have a problem. We've identified the problem. We are asking you guys to help us fix it. That's why I'm here. Because I'm asking for your help to fix that problem. Because it's a significant problem. We can't even get anybody to apply. How long has the female jail position posting been open?
Month?
How many applicants we have?
None.
0. We can't even get an application. I don't want to say it's sad, but it's really sad because we are operating a very unstable and failing business. We would love to be able to keep the people that we hire. We don't hire them because we don't want them. We hire them because we want them. And when we want them, we invest in them. We continue to invest in them, we continue to invest in them, and then they leave. And that's a real crappy feeling for us because we create those connections with those people too. We've been through some really bad things with those people. We've been to some really bad scenes with those people. We've been to scenes where those people have to take other people's lives. We create that connection with those people that you'll never be able to take away. But it'd be a lot nicer if those people were still here with us. So, I brought you a visual. Those are all of the backgrounds that I have done in just the last 5 years. I spend anywhere from 40 to 50 hours on a background. I currently have 2 on my desk. I would love to not spend my whole career doing backgrounds. I would love to be able to help people in our department more. I would love to be able to help people in this community more. But that takes up a ton of my time. And a lot of times I have to travel for those. I don't like spending the nights on backgrounds, but sometimes it's required. Because I don't want to do interviews over the phone. If we're gonna hire somebody that's gonna be a law enforcement officer in this county, and I need to interview you, I'm gonna do it face to face. Because I have no idea who I'm talking to over the phone. And a lot of times in background investigations and in criminal investigations, you don't get the same information when you're talking to someone over the phone as you do when you look them in the eye. That's a lot of backgrounds. Like, I'm sweating looking at those because that's a lot. So I appreciate your time. I'm certain that the board will take what we saw tonight into consideration and hopefully help us fix it soon, because we're a sinking ship. And it's sad. I started here 20 years ago and I'm not leaving. And I want this place to succeed. So thank you. I'll clean up all my backgrounds now.
Thank you, Phil.
Certain order. So these next to the top.
Presentation of the Wisconsin Conservation Congress. We're gonna kind of move on to what we said. Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
You can go ahead anytime.
Okay. I'm gonna use the podium because I'm old and I need something to lean on. I am Roger Rail. I am the current chairman of the Rusk County delegation of the Wisconsin Conservation Congress. I'm gonna read a little bit. I printed up something so I try not to forget anything. To give you some information, you have any questions afterwards, I'm happy to answer. So we'll get into this. The Wisconsin Conservation Congress was formed in 1934 as a citizens advisory group to advise the Department of Natural Resources Board on fishing, hunting, and the environment. In 1972, it became the only group created by state statute in the nation for that purpose. There are 5 delegates elected to the Wisconsin Conservation Congress from every county. That happens at the DNR annual spring hearings, which are held in each county on the same day. Those delegates then go on to attend committee meetings, district meetings, and annual meetings held every May. The annual meeting is held every May, not all of them. On the second weekend of May, that is held. Citizen resolutions to change anything that has to do with DNR rules or regulations or environmental standings are submitted to the submitted at the spring hearings. It is then the WCC job to look through them, work with the person submitting it, and try to get the idea to the point where it can be put on as a Wisconsin Conservation Congress question statewide at the next spring hearing. If it passes, there, the WCC would discuss it at an annual convention and usually ask that it be moved on to the DNR question at the next spring hearing, which it would be voted on statewide. If passed again, it would then be put to the DNR board or to the Assembly and the Senate to become law. All of the time and effort the delegates put in is donated. The DNR reimburses us for in-person committee meetings, which we all sit on at least one, if not 2 committees, pay for lodging and mileage at those committee meetings. Most counties have given their delegates a flat dollar amount or a reimbursement to attend the annual meeting, because that is usually held somewhere in the middle of the state, and it goes over, it'd be 2.5 days, or no, a day, 2 days. It's a half day, one whole day, and then another half day. So we have to go down there, we staying at a hotel which is paid for, by ourselves. It is under a DNR, gets a special room rate for that at that point. And then we spend our own gas to get there and back. We as delegates are representing the county at these meetings. Last year, we had around 650 people take part in the spring hearing for Rusk County, either in person or online. And we are there to represent not only those 650 people, but every other resident of the county on that board. What I'm here for is to ask the county to support the county WCC delegates. It is my understanding that the county at one time supported them, and my hope that we can rekindle that cooperation. We do not need support for the committee or the district meetings, but we would appreciate it if we could get a reimbursement of hotel lodging and gas to get to and from the annual meeting. My suggestion would be to reimburse the delegates for attending the annual meeting, which is held over 3 days, 2 nights, and moves locations every year. It usually is in the center of the state, but not always. Sometimes the farthest north it's ever been was at Cable, since I've been on. They have had it once in Eau Claire, but most of the time it's either Wisconsin Dells or Appleton or Green Bay or somewhere kind of centered north and south. Reimbursement of the actual cost of lodging and mileage using the state rate from Ladysmith to the conference center is what I'm asking, if possible. As an example for you, this year, if all 5 delegates had went and stayed both nights, and all 5 drove their own cars separately, it would have cost the county around $1,600. Now, I know you have to designate where the funds come for that, and that is kind of up to you people. I was looking at today at your different committees and divisions, and the 2 that looked like they fit closest to what we are involved in is forestry and land and water. But this is up to you. Any questions?
Any questions? Guess not.
Okay,
Thank you.
you got it. Thank you.
Discussion possible motion. Request of reimbursement up to $2,500 for the Wisconsin Conservation Congress. Motion. Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any questions or anything on it? If not, we can vote on it. Yes, passed by majority.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. 5, invoice classification from the Sheriff's Department of out of county housing.
Good evening. I'm here to answer a question.
Mr. Felish.
Yeah, sure. At the finance meeting, we discussed the invoices for the out-of-county housing. Invoice with travel expenses related to Ottawa County Housing, and we had an invoice from Trumbull County for the inmates. Now, I had sent you an email a while ago asking about double bunking at the jail. So I wasn't sure if this was related to this, but it sounds like Ashley said that this is related to. My understanding is you took away the double bunking, not the state.
Correct.
Okay, cause I had emailed you and asked that I had heard a rumor that the DOC took away our double bunking in the jail, and asked if you could confirm if this was true or not, or if we were still double bunking. Is there a reason you didn't respond?
I don't remember seeing your email.
Okay.
And I get several hundred a day, so I apologize if I missed your email.
Okay, and we tried calling you at finance for clarification, but you didn't answer, and I get you're probably busy, you know, there's a lot of, things
Was
going.
it something that was on the agenda that I should have been here for that it wasn't?
No, we're just trying to get clarification, but I didn't, you know, try calling, try email, so just wanna make sure that we get clarification. Mr. Grassman, were you aware that the double bunking was taken away?
I think I know the email you're referring to, you sent it to Jeff and I. And
Yes.
did I respond that I couldn't answer that accurately because I was not a part of that decision-making process?
Yeah, so,
Right.
so my question was, you know, whether the DOC took away double bunking or if we're still double bunking. I didn't understand that the sheriff could also take away double bunking. Your response was that you weren't part of the decision-making process, so if that took place, you really can't comment on that. I appreciate, the response. So after not getting a response from you, I did, forward this to George, maybe thinking that you were busy. And asked him if double bunking, if we've been double bunking or if that's been taken away from us. So I worded it a little bit different because I wasn't under the understanding that, you could take away the double bunking. So George did answer.
Let me explain a little bit to that. I signed an agreement with the county for the double bunks, okay, based on our staffing. So that's where I have the ability to not use the double bunks.
So why did you take away the double bunking?
The double bunkings are not being used because we can't meet classification with that. And, based on the statement that was made earlier today and things I've heard, for a year and a half, we've been talking about the jail. And we explained numerous times that the state has been working with us, as we're moving forward to do this. I signed a letter with the state saying that we would house out a county to meet the classification issues. I didn't house out a county because we were moving forward, and as you can see, the cost savings it was saving us over the time doing that. When we were at the last finance meeting that I was at, and the jail stalled on the table, went nowhere, now we're not moving forward. Now I have to do something, and that's where classification became the issue. And the only way to meet classification is to ship inmates out of county, which was explained is how it was gonna happen. And that's what the new norm is gonna be, until something is done.
So I think you made the comment at that finance meeting that it was already costing us $20,000 to house out a county.
We weren't housing out of county at that time. I believe you were the one who brought it to my attention that I had signed this letter and you wanted to know why I was not housing out of county.
And I agree with that. So if we were out of classification, we should be housing out of county. Have we been, when a DOC did their inspection, have we been 11 inmates out of compliance?
I don't know what the number is. I don't
Yeah,
know that he said a
11
number, it's just that
We
you're not in
haven't
compliance.
had an inspection yet until August 13th.
We have one coming
In
August.
some of the former ones, have we been 11 inmates out of compliance?
They don't number,
They don't specify numbers.
they don't specify numbers, they just say that we haven't met classification, it's all or nothing.
Okay, so your email the other day, George, you stated that there's 23 double bunk beds that we're not using, per your order.
Mhm.
Doesn't that make us closer to being out of compliance by having less beds?
No, cause and maybe this is the issue that people aren't understanding with classification. We have 6 cell blocks, and 4 dorms. So in reality, that gives us 10 classifications.
There's only 6, right?
There's 4 dorms, 6 cell blocks,
There's 18 different classifications.
3 beds in each corner block, right? And 6 in one and 8 in the other in the cells. If I put a classification for this classification, and I have no other people that's the same classification, that one person's taking up them 8 beds. So it don't matter if it's double bunked or not double bunked. If it was just 4, they would still just be taking all 4 of them beds because I can't place somebody else with them.
So if there's an inmate that's a class 1 male, and there's a double bunk available, you won't use it?
Not unless I have another male,
But your order was to not use the double bunk,
Right.
correct? Even if there's a class 1
but we
male
don't
and
have
there's
that
an
anymore.
available second bunk, correct?
Right, but the bunks aren't, we're not even to the double bunk, so it's not an issue. Double
Yeah,
bunk.
because we got a bunch of inmates housed out of county.
Yeah, we do, because they're different
Because-
classification. And I'm not here, and I'm not gonna argue with you all night over this, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to answer the question, we ship these inmates out for classification purposes to meet what the state required us in the letter I sent the
So what
state,
was the-
because it was brought to my attention that we should be doing that. That's what I did, and you've been told for a year or better that if we don't do something to move forward, whatever that is, this is what the outcome is gonna be.
We were told the state would take away the double bunking.
They can, but when they do, maintenance will be in there the next day cutting them out, and they'll never come back.
So why would we not utilize double bunking if there's 43 beds available? If we have an inmate in that classification, what would be the purpose of not using that?
Because where the double bunks are, we still have other beds. Right? Where there's double bunk, there's 4, and then there's,
In some of them, yeah.
in some of
Not
them,
every
not
cell
all of
is
them are double bunked.
Right, we got 23 double bunks that we're not using.
What he's saying is that, so there's 10, we can only have up to 10 classifications. So the people that are housed out of county don't fit within those 10 classifications, so the empty beds are kind of a moot point, because you can't house them
So-
in the classifications that we have.
So we were all class 1 and class 2 inmates housed out of county currently, right? When, the last time you sent me the email,
I guess I'm not sure what you mean by class 1 and class 2.
you sent me your classifications, you said were low and mediums, that were housed out of county, correct?
Right, because when you house out of county, you have to send the good ones out.
So there's no double bunks, there's no bunks available for lower, medium, in any of the cells that have a lower, medium, bunk available.
Okay. You also have to understand when we ship inmates out, they don't have to accept any of them. So if we have a higher class inmate or a troubled inmate, they're not taking them. We have to keep them here, which takes up space in our jail. Okay? Some places will take them, but that $57 a day or $60 a day we're paying could be $200, based on what they wanna charge us if they wanna house it. What we're trying to do is try and get these out that we can, that are either sentenced, so that we don't have to do this back and forth, because that's where it's costing us a lot of money also. We don't have the staffing to do it, so Ready Transport is doing the transport for us. Because the overtime that we have now, which you've seen in Phil's presentation, my guys can't do it, they physically can't do any more than what they're already doing. Because we don't have the staffing to do it.
So if we just ship a bunch of them off, we don't gotta worry about it for a while.
That's not it. I don't know how to
Whether we
explain
have
to
empty
you.
beds available, whether they're double bunking or not. The inmates that are.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I could say, we'll go back to double bunking, that's fine. But the same number of people are gonna be shipped out because they're not meeting into that classification that we can house them people in that same cell.
So it sounds like classifications. That's kind of the issue.
Well, I don't understand why you would even make the, statement, okay, we're gonna shut down double bunking now, if that was the whole threat.
This isn't a threat.
No, but that was, when we were talking about the jail, that was the threat, that if we don't build a jail, the state's gonna wait to take away double bunking, because we might be out of classification, we've had issues where we've been 1 or 2 inmates out of classifications on some of these individuals. And now we went to let's house 11 out, and we're taking away the double bunking.
That wasn't a threat, that was a fact. That was a simple fact.
But is it
Not a
my
threat.
understanding though, that if the DOC comes in and takes away, they're never ever gonna come back, you'll never get back through the door, period. So
I'll
that's
take
kind of where
advantage of
that's kind of where the
responsibility.
difference is though, Phil, right now. If they walk in and take away versus sheriff deciding to take away. I see what your point is, but it sounds like the classification is the issue here.
Got that, we got that that's the issue, but we don't have numbers that show that. And I'm not saying to not house out of county the amount that it needs to do it responsibly, but to say, well, I'm gonna cost you a bunch of money because you don't build us a new jail.
If you think that's the reason I'm doing that, you're absolutely 100% wrong. I live in this county, I pay taxes in this county. I've given 20 years, almost 25 years to this county, and it isn't that. I will never see a new jail if you build one. That's not my point. My point is that is what's needed. It was proven in the study done by Wold that that is your #1 need in this county. If you guys choose not to build it, that's up to you guys. I can't say, go build it. I'm not doing this to say, well, if you're not gonna build a jail, this is what I gotta do because you're not building the jail. To be in compliance with DOJ. That's why I'm doing it. If you want me to do something else, you tell me. I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, because if it ain't right, I'm not doing it.
In May, we were housing other counties inmates,
And maybe we run.
and then we also housed,
Only because Price County was doing a construction project, they asked if we
and
could
then we
keep them
also
at a
housed
short
our
time.
inmates out of county in May. Which was it the June finance meeting that the jail project held?
Yeah, it must have been. It was July, it must have been.
Okay, cause you said that you moved the inmates after the finance meeting, that.
Yeah, there was like 10 days in May that we moved it.
Yeah, May 24th, it says 11 inmates were shipped out. When did we get rid of double bunking?
That's when I said we're not gonna double
So
bunk.
May 24th, so before the finance meeting.
No, it was after. I said when it died on the table. Cause where was the direction that we were going when finance left it on the table? Where was I supposed to go with it? This is what now, 23rd of July, and I still have no guidance in where it's going.
Well, I guess part of the thing is, maybe I'm coming to some assumptions that are just my mind running wild, right? Because you see things and you're like, why is this? You think maybe that if there was a little more open communication on that it would be easier to not come to.
Yeah, I would love more open communication, absolutely. I've gone to my committee, I've gone to the personnel committee, I've gone to the finance committee, we've had an ad hoc committee. I don't know where else do you want me to come from? What do you want
Right,
from me?
I mean, when you take away double bunking, an easy communication letter to everybody saying, hey, I took away the double bunking, it wasn't the state, here's my reasons. And then when I email, get a response, and I maybe get a lot of emails, but it seemed like I had to drag an answer out of anybody to get an answer. I asked about, housing unaccounted because I was told by an inmate that the state took it away. So
Okay,
I didn't
you
know
get your
if-
information from an inmate.
Right, but that's the only reason I knew to ask the question, right? And I shouldn't have to have an inmate keep me apprised of what's going on in the jail, that we're talking about building a brand new jail, and we have no clue that you shut down the double bunking.
Okay, do you have my phone number?
I do.
My phone number, right?
I emailed you.
I said, I didn't see it, I apologize for that. I'm sure you're not the first email that I've not responded back to, and I'll apologize for that. But you have my phone number.
I'm gonna get to the final point now, so we can move on with these.
Yeah, well, can you do a better job of communicating this type of stuff? You know, like, this affects the county's finances. The decision was made by you about the double bunking part. Is that something we can have communicated when stuff like that comes up?
Keep us in the loop.
I go to my committee and discuss with my committee, do I not?
So the Emergency Services Committee was aware that you took away the double bunking,
I believe so.
and maybe out of that, maybe somebody should have forwarded something to the rest of the board, so that everybody is aware.
Okay.
But I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Kudo.
Just one quick point I'd like to make, and this is in defense of Sheriff Wallace. Throughout the entire process with the ad hoc construction committee, which I chaired, the sheriff made it evident, that as long as we were moving forward, the jail could continue as it has been continued in the past. However, he did say that once we stop making progress, we stop moving, or if we decided that, yeah, the jails are gonna work, we don't wanna do it now, whatever, it was clear, always clear, that at that point, that, we would have to start moving inmates out of the county to meet the, what's the word?
Classification.
Thank you, to meet the classifications. So, there was nothing really under the table, Phil, it was always clear.
We were told the state was gonna take away double bunking. That's what was communicated.
And the state said that,
Okay,
that's what you're aware of.
Ms. Wallace.
That was my point.
My question is, how many classifications are there? Because I guess I don't know the answer.
At least 18.
18?
Minimum, 18.
So we have you 8 rooms, 10 rooms.
Minimum.
If you had 6 that were all the same classifications, you could still house all 6.
All 6 in one room.
So you're not really taking away double bunking, it just isn't feasible to do that. Saying taking away double bunking doesn't actually mean you couldn't do it if you had all the right inmates at the right time, is that correct? So, by saying taking away double bunking is just saying we have to be able to have, isn't it 15% open for?
We have to be at 80%, correct?
80%.
So you don't even have 10 rooms, you have 8 rooms to use in case you get people that don't qualify, correct? So you didn't really take away double bunking, you just have to meet all the standards, which means that there's very little area to do that. You can't pick and choose, well, we have 6 people that would qualify, so let's not shipping those people out. What they're telling you is that you don't get to choose who you ship out. You have to ship out who the other places will take. So it isn't like you can manage, oh, we got all of these, so let's keep all these and ship all these out. That isn't how it works. They come in at different times, leave at different times. Some of them are more complicated than others. It doesn't always work like you're thinking it is, and I don't think that you're understanding what he's saying.
Okay, so this was just discussion, Phil, did you get some clarification on what you?
Yeah, now I'm a little more confused though. So we're following 18 classifications as well.
It's gonna have to go on another way. Are you good to go as far as what you
I
asked?
guess if you're
Resolutions. Appointing Rusk County Veteran Service Officer. Need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Schneider, second by Steve.
Okay, Tammy, are you back there? Can I invite you up for a second? Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick introduction. So this is Tammy and Ms. Stoker, and she is who we are considering appointing for Veteran Service Officer. I wanna go through your background just super quick. So most recently, she worked as the Veteran Relations Specialist at Associated Training Services, where she worked with different organizations across the U.S. recruiting veterans to attend heavy equipment, crane operations, or Class A CDL truck driving. Before that, she worked as the Assistant Veteran Service Officer for Barron County for over 5 years. And before that, the Veteran Benefit Administrator with Vernon County for just about 4 years. Is there anything else you'd like to add to your resume?
I retired from the Air Force. I did 20 years in the Air Force. Oh, and I was on the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers out of Washington, D.C. I was on the board for 5 years as a voting member of the national board.
So what we are asking the board today is to appoint Tammy as our Veteran Service Officer at a pay rate of $29.40 an hour with a starting date of July 24th, 2024, which is tomorrow.
Any questions? If not, we can vote on it now. Nineteen yes, passed by majority.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your past work, Eric. We appreciate all the work you've done with us.
Seven, have a meeting for inpatient behavior health facility for Northern Wisconsin. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Schneider, second by Mr. Russell.
Okay, so Jeremy Jacobs couldn't be here tonight. He's taking some well-deserved time off. He did give me some notes to read though. So a few items to consider as support for this proposed resolution via the Health and Human Services Board. The rationale for Rusk County to acknowledge support of this resolution is to ultimately lessen the impact on consumers, limit financial exposure, decrease time responsibility for law enforcement and HHS staff, all of which are associated with emergency service requirements relating to Chapter 51. In Rusk County, HHS staff and law enforcement work closely on such cases, evaluating safety and case planning during crisis events. And in-depth assessments completed primarily when law enforcement or emergency department staff are alerted to comments or actions by a consumer in our county that present with acts or threats of self-harm or are exhibiting their inability to care for self, mainly due to a developmental disability, mental illness, or drug dependency. Rusk County HHS operates a Department of Health Services certified HFS 34 mobile crisis response system as mandated by statute. A specific set of statutory guidelines are required in order for a law enforcement officer to take someone into custody involuntarily under this statute. Following data shows the time commitment associated with this process. Average assessment by HHS staff is approximately 3 hours per assessment. Average law enforcement transport time to either Mayo Eau Claire, Amory, Ashland, Rhinelander, Green Bay, or Winnebago is approximately 7 hours per event. And emergency detentions by year have been increasing. They've been about the same in the upper teens to low 20s. Annual assessments by mobile staff have gone from about 75 to 117 in the last 5 years. This supportive ask is appropriate in order to gain access to a facility that is close to our region. Additional bed space availability will assist in lessening staff time and transportation cost. Thanks a bunch, and we can discuss more. Let Jeremy know if you have any questions.
Is there a super grade or anything in there available?
He says thanks for the efforts. Nope.
Any questions? Mr. Schneider.
I just wanna add that we've been through this before. All the counties recognize the problem. We worked at it. If you heard about the $15 million that's floating around Eau Claire right now, since Marshfield closed, that was all set to go into Sacred Heart for this. Now all of a sudden, Madison forgot what they appropriated the money for and what the need was, and so now they're arguing about crazy. We're just trying to get this back on the track again.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we can vote on it. Nineteen yes, passed by majority. Number 8, designating HHS American Rescue Plan funds to be used for Community Project 3. Is there a motion? Motion by John Moore, second by Mike Russell. This is Kaylee Bunking.
Yes. Alright, like Ashley said, Jeremy is off on vacation, so you're stuck with me. I'm Kaylee Bugbee, the health officer for Rusk County. This is similar to the ARPA proposals we had last month. These are just 3 more projects that have been brought ahead and approved by the HHS board, and now we're just seeking, asking by the county board. The 3 are for the Blue Hills Trails Association. They're asking for reimbursement for trail grooming that the Plan Boat inmates had done for them last year after the ice storm. That was approved by the state as an allowable use. Nature's Edge Therapy Center is a nonprofit, it's in Barron County, but they are asking for funding to treat children out of Rusk County. It is an approved use from the state because there is a shortage of speech therapists in the county for children. And then, the Alano Club is asking for $10,000 to put towards a new roof on their building. They're losing shingles, their roof is in disrepair, and that was also an allowable use because it addresses, addiction and peer support. So, any questions, I guess?
Any questions?
I have a question. Where does this money come out of?
So this was a grant we got during COVID before I started, and we used it for like contact tracing and things like that. Any money that was left over, the state has said we could use for areas that were impacted during COVID. So we've been focusing a lot on things like, increasing physical activity for the community, improving parks, addiction, things like that. So there's no tax levy involved, it's just allocating the funding, and getting their approval to allow them to use these funds instead of using them for like contact tracing. We are not doing contact tracing.
Any other questions? If not, we can vote on it. Nineteen yes, passed by majority vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. 9, wage adjustments for Rusk County seasonal employees. Motion by Mr. Willingham, second by Mr. Zimmer.
Okay, so Rusk County employs seasonal help, and we also have interns, and we have not increased these wages for many, many, many years. I can't tell you the exact date because we don't have anything on file or record from when we have last raised these, but talking to some department heads and some other staff members, it has been a long time since we have raised our intern and seasonal staff wages. So looking at this for next year, so that way we can budget for that. So this would go into effect January 1 of 2025, so it won't affect anybody that's currently a seasonal staff or an intern right now. But we would like to increase that to $15 an hour. Currently it's at $12.50. So currently the structure that we follow is an intern that starts with us or summer help seasonal staff start at $12.50. If they return to us the next year, they can bump up to $13.50. The third year would be $14.50, and then they cap at $15. So if somebody's been here for 4 years, their top amount would be that $15. We're looking to start them at $15 per hour with an increase of $1 per hour each year that employee returns to work with Rusk County for that maximum of $20 per hour starting effective January 1st, 2025.
Any questions? If not, we can vote on it. Yes, passed by majority. designating and continuing appropriation accounts for donations to the Rusk County Sheriff's Office. Motion by Mr. Wedwick, second by Alec Hampton.
Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. This is out of our financial procedures manual that we don't let, balances flow over from year to year. So, for instance, in the animal shelter donations, we do have a recurring, what, Jamie, help me out?
Not the donations, the gift fund.
Okay, gift fund. Well, it rolls from year to year. So if someone donates to the animal shelter, that money stays in that fund from.
If they donate to the gift fund.
If they donate to the gift fund, thank you. It stays in that fund from year to year. It's not the same with the sheriff's office. So last year, they received a donation of, I don't know, 5,000, I don't remember how much it was, whatever. They received a donation for a set amount, and that donation wasn't used in that fiscal year. So that money was used to offset the levy in that budget. That didn't sit right with sheriff, so he went to emergency services and asked that anything donated to the sheriff's office be allowed to roll into the next year to be utilized. Because if someone's donating to the sheriff's office, they are donating to a specific purpose likely, which is law enforcement, canines, whatever that is. So they didn't feel it right that that money be used to offset the levy.
And if I could, that kind of came to light. I was not aware that money donated went back into the general fund, and the money that was there, we asked to purchase, screening for the dispatch windows, so the inmates can't see in, but they can see out. And during that time, that's when we found out that the money that we thought was there, that we were gonna use, had been, put back in the general fund, that was no longer there. So we had to, find somewhere else in our budget to make that happen. That's how it came about that I became aware of it. I was not aware that it just rolled back. I thought it all stayed right there. So that's why I went to my committee and said, hey, it's donated to the sheriff's department. It should be used for the sheriff's department. That's why I'm asking for that fund to be rolled over and donated money to the sheriff's department.
Any questions? Mr. Undershoots.
Can't we get in trouble for using donated funds for levy, like if they're donated for something to us? Like, isn't that like a legal issue?
If they're donated for a specific purpose, but I don't think they were donated for a specific piece of equipment or.
If they're donated to the sheriff's department, that's a specific purpose.
Right, so they were used to offset sheriff's department operating costs.
So you use the 5,000, but then you.
All we're asking is that donated monies be rolled over as donated money.
Any other questions? If not, we can vote on it. Passed by the majority. Number 11, establishing parameters for the sale of the notes to exceed $6 million general obligation promissory notes. Motion by Mr. Coggan, second by Mr. Wedwick.
Okay, so this resolution is structured to provide the necessary, Board of Supervisors authorization for the issuance and sale of our notes. Under the resolution, issuance of the notes is conditioned on the finance director, the administrative coordinator, or the county board chair approving the final terms of the notes. But the terms of the notes will have to comply with the parameters listed in this resolution that you received. And a couple things I wanted to point out, in the final whereas clause, again, it's delegating that, authority to the finance director, AC, or board chair, the authority to accept the proposal on behalf of the county so long as the proposal meets the terms and conditions set forth in this resolution. Section 1, the principal sum is not to exceed $6 million, which is what you approved at the last board meeting. And then, under section 2, line 22 through 24, interest shall be payable semi-monthly, and the true interest cost on the note shall not exceed 4.75%. So unless you guys had any other specific questions, it's what we discussed at the last meeting.
Any other questions?
not, you can vote on it. 19 yes, passed by majority. Number 12, increasing dog license fees for 2025. Any motion? Motion by Mr. Whitewright, second by Mr. Kudo.
Okay, as you know, the costs keep going up and everything, and the only way that the animal shelter has of raising money or getting additional things in outside of donations is by raising the fees. And this is simply raising the dog license fee, and you can see that from current, well, January 1, but it's for the calendar year 2025, because when they send out, when the town clerks and everything send out their tax statements, they usually include in there what the dog licensing fees will cost and everything, and that will go out in December, so we want to have plenty of time so that they are aware of this and can get it out and notify. Again, you can see there, based on 2023 actual dog license issued, the difference would be approximately an increase about $6,400. And so we are requesting that this resolution be passed, increasing the dog licensing fees. And then by doing that, in the last one, now therefore be it resolved, it also changes the, or should, you notice it hadn't changed it from before, it amends the section 833 of the Rusk County Code of Ordinances in section, or parens J, parens N, to reflect the new dollar amounts. And again, this would be effective for the calendar year 2025, so any license sold in, you know, November, December for 2025, this would be the fee.
Any questions? Mr. Cotton?
I was just curious why the proposed new license fee for intact dogs wasn't raised to like $20 instead. Through the animal shelter, I mean, they're proponents of neutering and spaying, and that's a big cost to that animal shelter. Yet when you raise rates, the spayed and neutered animals they're raised $2.50 per license, but you're only proposing $1.50 for an intact animal. I think it would have been smarter to raise the other one more.
We can change that if you wish. It was, we don't understand why they ever had 50 cents on all these license fees in the first place.
I get that.
And so we wanted to raise it to even dollar amounts, and when they, you know, they have to have their dog license spayed or neutered, so they're paying to have their dog license, spayed or neutered, and if they're not, they're paying to do that, so that's an additional cost to them. Whereas if they're not spayed, well,
they're contributing more to the population.
Right.
And the reason they went up to $2.50, because they'd never been moved from $5 before that, ever. And we figured going up 50%, we weren't sure if we were brave enough to double it. So that's kind of why it ended where it was. We had the debate, trust me.
You gotta push your button.
Sorry. We'll be pushing
We're gonna start trying to follow the rules here a little more. Mr. Willingham.
You jumped in ahead of me.
It's your turn now, take it while you got it.
I just, noticed, Mr. Taylor with us this evening, and he probably, was around long enough to remember, as I do, back in the old days when every month when we had a county board meeting, there would be a list of dog damage claims that were, introduced to the board, and the board paid them with the dog license fees. And, there were a lot of interesting stories, and everyone that ever had somebody's dog eat their duck, had the, most expensive duck that ever walked the face of the earth, destroyed, and then we would give them the same amount as, as if the duck was, half dead before they ate it. But anyway, I just thought you'd be happy to know we don't have to do that anymore.
That's a pretty foul story.
Oh, said you would do.
Any other questions? Mr. Kudo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Coggins, was it you that brought up the point?
I think so.
Okay, good. I just want.
Which point?
The point about the fact that, Intact Dog is, basically the fee went up less than what it went up for the spay and neuter dogs.
Isn't this the time if they wanted to pay if they could?
So, what I wanted to say was, thank you for bringing that up, because actually, I'm on the committee as well, and when I was looking at this, and I saw the same thing, and I thought, what were we thinking? And you're absolutely right, you make a very valid point. So, I guess, that being said, I would like to make a motion to amend the Intact Dog fee from $13.50 to $20.
Who's your amendment?
There you go. Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Kudo to amend, second by Mr. Hanson.
To amend,
Can you say everything again by chance there, Tom?
Motion to.
Absolutely. So I make a motion that, in light of the fact that, I make a motion that we amend the Intact Dog license fee from $15 to $20.
Is there any other questions on that? Everybody good with it? If not, we can vote on that.
This is on the amendment only.
The amendment only. 19 yes and passed by the majority. Okay, so now we go back to the original.
As amended, yes.
Motion is amended. Now we're going back to the original vote.
As amended with the change to $20, yes.
Is there any other more questions on this one? If not, we can vote on it. Passed by the majority. Closed session announced by the chair. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Miller, second by Alec Hampton. Motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Stat 19.85, considering the financial, medical, social, and personal histories or discriminated data and specific persons, primarily consideration of specific personnel problems or the investigation of the charges against specific persons, and under Wisconsin Stat 19.85, Para 1, Para G, for conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect in litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, to wit, to make ratification vote of the disciplinary subcommittee action taken on July 11, 2024 in respect to the public employee. Vote.
Is this not debatable, Mr. Chairman?
What's that?
Is this motion not debatable?
Non-debatable?
It's debatable if you want.
Huh? Yeah, I would like to offer comment.
What are you going to debate?
I assume whether or not to go into closed session.
What do you want to debate?
whether we should go into closed session. Because
Wouldn't you make that decision by pressing your button, yes or no?
thought maybe you might be interested in why I said no.
Early today. Vote.
It's my opinion that the action being asked for is covered under chapter 17 and not 19.85. You're basically asking us to have a termination vote, right? Is that your understanding?
Well, there's going to be discussion among other things in the closed session. There's going to be discussion among other things in the closed session regarding those reasons listed. So that would be the reason for going into the closed session.
I think it's, ratification vote is not an appropriate designation on the agenda for that purpose.
We're voting. Vote now, please. $18 yes, passed by majority. We are in now closed session.
What's that? So, are you ready to go?
I just put in there education.
No, it's gonna be the motion that we just did in closed session.
Right, but I just have it on the agenda that way. You'll make the motion.
Yeah, so,
Okay, so we're in open session. Discussion action may be necessary to further matters discussed in closed session. We have a motion on what we discussed in the closed session.
who made it?
Mr. Kudo did.
You wanna make that, Ms. Kudo, or you want me to use the language?
I make the motion, you can do the language, please.
Okay, so it would be in order to make a motion to terminate Mr. Schultz based upon his failure to sign the last chance agreement effective as of July 11th, 2024. Is that your motion, Mr. Kudo?
Yes, it is.
Is there a second?
Mr. Russell seconded.
Any further discussion on that motion?
If not, we can vote on it.
Well, what's on the screen isn't appropriate. It's
18 yes by majority vote.
Put some of the language in there.
We're good?
You don't.
This in there, right here. Right here, ratification.
Appointments. Appointment of interim facilities manager. That's I am Jerry. That's Jerry then. Motion by Mr. Spiller. And I need a second.
So, it's a motion by, I don't think
Second by
you wrote
Mr.
it.
Hammond.
Motion by Mr. Spiller to appoint who? Charmaine Johnson as the interim facilities.
Charmaine Riddle.
Charmaine Riddle as the interim facilities manager.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
So, yeah, anyways, we talked to her, Jerry and I did, and, she'd be good with just staying there for a short bit. Till we get our bearings straight, so we're just asking if, you're all okay with it.
I'm just curious, now, are we gonna decide this now, or is it gonna come up at another meeting? Will she get a stipend for this, or?
Stipend has been talked about, I don't know exactly when that went to be.
This did not come from me, so I don't know how to present this.
So if you wanna set it now, otherwise have the wage set by finance or her oversight committee. If you wanna delegate.
Either way, I just wanted to, get it out in the open, that likely that's probably gonna happen.
More than likely, but I don't know what a number is. And I know Jamie had threw a bunch of stuff in me at one point, but it was thrown both ways, so I don't know what the final number was.
Past practices would be that we place somebody at like step one of the scale of that position that they're doing the interim for. Past practices, which not saying we can't change them and then move to that practice going forward and be consistent that way. But past practices have been, if it's an hourly employee going into that position, that they would be placed at an hourly rate of that hourly. And if it's a salary person taking over that position, it would be a stipend that we would give them. An annual stipend or a monthly stipend for that. I know there was some conversations around with Char's, the number of duties that she has. I think, the number of different hats that she wears. She has those 5 different positions that go under those 5 different budgets. I think that was the talk, but I wasn't part of those discussions either, so I'm not sure I can speak on those past practices.
So that was discussed with Jamie and I today, and she was thinking more or less a stipend for the month.
So Charmaine is, salary?
No, Charmaine is hourly.
She's hourly, but she pulls from 5 different hats.
Yeah.
So that's where Jamie was thinking a stipend would be better, because then it just pulls out of the facilities budget only. So.
Yeah, I think that's good.
If I had to really remember, I thought she threw a number somewhere around that 11 mark for the month. Don't hold me to it, but somewhere around there, Jim.
I would also make the recommendation when you guys look at this to ask her the question if she needs some clerical help. This looks like it's gonna go on for a little bit. Whether, short term, part time, whatever, but whoever looks at it.
Would you?
At this juncture, you have the motion to appoint the facilities manager. You can leave the pay, again, make an amendment to add a pay, or to be determined by the finance department, or, I'm sorry, maintenance department.
Well, we can also be determined by your oversight, or does?
Correct, that's maintenance, isn't it?
Oh, property.
Or property, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Wondering, did you ask anybody else? Did you ask anybody else to do this?
Did you wanna volunteer, Lois?
And realize this is just the interim one.
Just for a short bit. She's kind of been doing some of it already for quite a while. But she kind of has an idea of what's going on in that department. That's kind of why we asked her, I guess. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Jermaine is a wonderful individual that will do an excellent job. She does, like everybody said, she's got all these hats and does all kinds of things already. The one thing that is a concern is, that Mr. Crudo's point is, we're gonna have pay come up with this. I think in future, when it comes to appointing an interim, we should have that pay on the motion at the board, because, okay, we're gonna pay her something. But what if she doesn't know what we're gonna pay her, whoever it is, this could be in any circumstance. you go to pay them and they were expecting more,
Right.
and then they get less. This way it would just clear out confusion. So just for future reference, even in an interim, we should have what their pay is gonna be, so there's no confusion between them and us. So they're not all of a sudden feel like they got the shaft on something they thought they were getting more.
I agree, I told Jerry. Good point. No, I agree with you. It's kind of thrown sideways a little bit, but.
Alright, you have a motion and
I have a
second.
motion and second on the floor. Is any other questions? If not, we can vote on it. Yes, passed by majority. Okay. Ad hoc construction committee. Members are as followed at this point in time. Brian Coggins, Tom Kudo, Terry Wedwig, Stacy Zimmer, and myself. Anybody on this list not wanna be on there?
If not, it would be in order for a motion and a second to approve the ad hoc construction committee appointments.
What you said. Motion by Jim Meyer and a second by Dan Goodes and Bill.
What is their mission?
What's the mission?
Yes, of this committee. I mean, we had a building committee to cover all the things, we had a jail committee to cover the jail.
This is the jail.
It is a jail.
Yeah, that's that committee,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Jail
this construction is the jail.
It's everything. There's the one who got the study.
So let's go back to the original committee to overlook everything then again?
It's the resolution that was passed last spring, I think, that same committee that you sat on.
Which is a jail committee or a construction committee?
It's the jail construction committee. It's a construction committee for the jail. That's at least it was represented to me when I was on it. We overlooked everything. You know, that worked. I'm coming, Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore.
Didn't we already have one of these for jail construction?
It's the same committee, just.
It is the same committee?
Just give me 1 quick second, please.
So this one was missed on committee and committees because it was an ad hoc one. There weren't, some of the people that are down there no longer on the board.
Yeah, so like Mr. Hauser is no longer.
So we had to replace
Yeah.
them.
So it's the same.
Yeah, thank you.
It's whatever shoots.
So this, committee is limited to only jail,
Yeah,
according to that resolution.
just jail construction. Like the last committee, all they did was see the plans and they.
Revise that to make it a construction
Well,
committee, so we're looking at everything.
So, again, this is on the appointments of this. That's something that may wanna be done, but we can amend that resolution at a future date.
Alright, Mr. Zimmer.
Being that it's limited strictly to the jail, I guess I thought we were gonna have the conversation about the whole scope, not just the jail. I'm gonna ask to amend this and be removed from this committee.
You would then need a motion to add somebody else to that based upon his design or failure to seek it.
Might have to have a motion
I'll make a motion to John Moore on it.
Replace Stacy.
to replace Stacy.
Do we have to finish the First Amendment, or does that go in the original motion?
So this is the amendment to the original one to adopt or to appoint those 5 people.
So it'd be more to replace.
Correct, replace, yes, yes. So this is on the amendment to replace Mr. Moore with Mr. Zimmer.
No.
Other way around.
I'm sorry.
No, the other way around.
You're close.
Anyway, yes.
You're 50% there. You need a second for that yet? I'll second it.
I have a first by Mr. Biller and a second by Mr. Meyer to replace Stacy Zimmer, John Moore. Do you accept that, John?
Yes.
That's on the amendment.
Correct.
Correct.
We have a motion by Stacy.
Nope, the amendment is a motion by Jerry, second by Meyer.
Second by, yeah, first by Jerry, second by
No.
Meyer.
Yes, it
Amended-
is.
That's
That's
the
the
amended
amendment.
motion.
You're winning.
Wait a minute, Stacy made the motion.
Stacy made the motion.
You did, you just said you just say replace instead, cause otherwise, if you're amending an amendment that hasn't been voted on yet, it's probably simpler just to stick to the initial amendment, if Stacy's okay with saying replace rather than remove.
Yes. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so now you want replace it?
We'll replace Stacy with John.
Move or replace, which one? Okay. Got it.
Okay, so we have a first by Stacy, second by Phil Undershoots to replace Stacy Zimmer with John Moore. Any other questions to that? If not, we can vote on it. 17 yes, 1 abstain. Passed by majority. Alright, Housing Committee. Housing Committee goes as Tom Kudo.
No, you haven't passed the
You haven't voted on the committee yet.
Sorry.
You have to pass it as
Is there any
amended.
other questions on the Construction Committee?
No, let's vote.
I really,
Please.
if not, let's vote. Eighteen yes, passed by majority.
Now we can do it.
Now I can move on. Hey, everybody's entitled to make a mistake every now and again. Housing Committee. Tom Kudo, County Board Supervisor, Susan Voss, is it Bowes or Voss?
Boss.
Voss, thank you. County Board Supervisor, Pauline Lundgren, citizen member. Mike Raven, citizen member. Randy Tater, citizen member. Anybody have any objections to them?
What is the housing committee and what is it for?
Motion by Mr. Biller, second by Mr. Phil Undershoots. Now, Ms. Clay.
So the housing, they, do the housing authority, they manage, grants through, Rusk County used to give out grants, now most of them are down to the Northwest Regional Planning, Committee. So we still have some of those residual funds, but otherwise it's the Rusk County Housing Authority Committee as well. So they combine those.
All our properties like at Bruce.
Correct. Yep.
It's like the properties for like.
You guys,
Hawkins,
you guys approved them getting air conditioning units and furnaces over the last 2 months or 3 months.
You remember us doing that, Gary?
Yeah, but that wasn't called the Rusk County Housing Commission, or the
Yeah, it was.
Housing Committee, that was some other committee, cause Randy Tater was on that, and he was the only one that, on the board that was on that.
He was on the housing committee.
Yeah, Randy was on that.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was called like the Housing Authority.
Authority or something, yeah.
Same concept, I guess, just a little different language.
That's my question.
Okay. Mr. Kudo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just curious, how many times does this committee meet?
I think it's quarterly.
Yeah, I think.
Is it quarterly?
Yes.
That's what I thought. I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
Ms. Susan?
That was my question.
Okay.
Good one for you.
Any other questions? If not, we can vote on it. Yes, passed by majority vote. Okay, any announcements? No announcements?
just got a comment.
Oh, sorry, Phil, go ahead.
For the Wisconsin Conservation Congress, that $2,500. You spoke with two committees that I'm on, or is that just gonna go to finance, they're gonna deal with it? Cause we got a lot of people in Rusk County that volunteer for that, and we gotta get that money to them, cause I think their stuff is coming up now very quickly. So, is that going to finance, or what are we gonna do with it?
Where's it go from here, finance?
It should go to finance, in my opinion, to determine the funding source, if you're pulling it from the forestry budget or the land mat budget.
Just allocate it.
Or general fund.
Just wanna make sure it gets done.
Yeah.
I'll check into it. Any other announcements? If not, entertain a motion for adjourn. Motion by Mr. Stacy Zimmer, second by Jared Miller. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
We have the next meeting.
When's the next meeting? 20th?
27th.
20th or 27th?
27th.
27.
27th?
Yep.
That was just over Rockies.
So, okay.
No. See, that's, ask me before you.
Oh, yeah.